Welcome again to another edition of the Reggae Planet Radio Showcase, another Reggae Planet Spotlight. This podcast is known as the Cool Game Podcast. Yes, indeed. We're talking about the Great Canadian Hockey Game, the Great Canadian Ice Hockey Game, one of the most exciting games in all of sports. It's the Cool Game Podcast, Road to the Stanley Cup. Today we're talking about the Montreal Canadiens' miraculous journey to the Stanley Cup Finals. They went up against the great Tampa Bay Lightning. This time Montreal did not win, but they gave all of Canada something to cheer for, and all real hockey fans everywhere around the world really like what they saw from the Montreal Canadiens. Win or lose, they made the hockey world happy. Yes, indeed. Les Habs, les habitants, Montreal Canadiens, inside the Reggae Planet, Cool Game Podcast, Road to the Stanley Cup 2021. As you know, the Montreal Canadiens did very well in this year's edition of the Stanley Cup playoffs. They won 3 rounds. They went all the way to the finals against the Tampa Bay Lightning. However, this time the Tampa Bay Lightning prevailed in 5 games. The Lightning won 4 games to 1, and they won their 3rd Stanley Cup championship, their 2nd in a row. But Montreal has nothing to be ashamed of because they went over and above expectations. Montreal Canadiens have a great history of winning Stanley Cups, and they have won the most Stanley Cups in the history of the NHL, 24 in total. They're the longest professional operating ice hockey team worldwide. They started way back in 1909. So they have been playing hockey now for more than 110 years, going on 111 years. So this year is their 111 years. 111 turned out to be a lucky year for them in this year's version of the NHL playoffs, Road to the Stanley Cup. And as I was talking about earlier on, they have won 24 Stanley Cup championships. Yes, indeed. And the only other team in sports that have won more championships than the Montreal Canadiens is the New York Yankees of baseball. I think they won maybe a couple more, But for a long time, the Canadiens set the bar and they set the trend. The last time they won the Stanley Cup was in 1993. That was the year when Wayne Gretzky faced the great Doug Gilmour of Toronto in the semifinals. And they always talk about the missed penalty, the missed call. If you know about hockey, you know what I'm talking about. But anyways, in the playoffs, they always complaining about the refereeing. Yes, especially in the playoffs, because in the regular season, the referees tend to call more penalties. But in the playoffs, sometimes they have a saying where they say let them play. So sometimes even if bad things happen, the referee don't call it. And then people complain and say, what's going on? Are they trying to let the next team win, or are they trying to make one team win over the next? Why aren't they calling the penalties? So in that semi-finals in 1993, Wayne Gretzky with the LA Kings was playing against Doug Gilmour and the Toronto Maple Leafs. And Wayne Gretzky is supposed to get a penalty. Yes, it should have been a 5-minute penalty, but nobody called the penalty. And Wayne Gretzky went on to score the winning goal. And went on to play against the Montreal Canadiens in the Stanley Cup Finals of 1993. That was the first time he was playing for the Stanley Cup after being traded from Edmonton Oilers, and he was now playing for the Los Angeles Kings. But still, the great Montreal Canadiens defeated the great Wayne Gretzky and the LA Kings, and they won their 24th Stanley Cup at the time. You see what I'm saying? So anyways, there's always referee controversy in the playoffs, you know. Did the referee make the right call? Did they miss the call? These type of things. But at the end of the day, you got to play the game. It's a rough and tough game, but it's a cool game, you know. And it's all about who is rough and tough to win. You know what I mean? It's not just about who got the fancy skills. It's about who can endure to the end, to the buzzer, to the winning point of the game. So Montreal Canadiens have a history of enduring to victory. Yeah. There's a lot of magic and a lot of vibes with the Montreal Canadiens. Some people say they're assisted by the ghost of the Forum, because the Forum is the great arena that they used to play in. They played in that arena up until 1996, and they won many Stanley Cups right there. But ever since then now, they moved to a new arena, and now they call it the Bell Center. But so far they haven't won a new championship there yet. So people always say, you know, the ghost of the old Forum is coming to help them, like all the great legends that played with them over the years. So this year, the Montreal Canadiens did very well in the Stanley Cup playoffs. As you know, they knocked out our beloved Toronto Maple Leafs from Toronto, because I'm a Torontonian, a Jamaican Canadian Torontonian, you know, grew up in Toronto, Ontario, so I'm a Leafs fan forever still. A Leafs fan forever. No disrespect to the Montreal Canadiens. You know, we want the Leafs to win a Stanley Cup too, but it didn't happen this year. Toronto Maple Leafs and the great Montreal Canadiens clashed in the first round, and this time Montreal prevailed, and Montreal went on and they played against Winnipeg Jets, and they prevailed in 4 games. Yes, 4-game sweep. They won 4 games to nothing, best of 7. Montreal Canadiens went on and played against the great Golden Knights of Las Vegas, the greatest expansion team in the history of expansion of the NHL. The Golden Knights in their 4th season. But Montreal still defeated the Golden Knights because they have a lot of skills, a lot of coaching, a lot of confidence, and they have one of the greatest goalies in the league. His name is Carey Price. Yes, indeed. He's one of the greatest goalies in the entire history of the NHL. But he's still searching for his first Stanley Cup. It's not so easy to win Stanley Cup now, especially because a lot of teams are very good. And they have a thing in hockey called puck luck. It's not like other sports. Sometimes you need a little bit of luck, but you also have to play with a lot of strategy. In the 2021 playoffs, the Montreal Canadiens were playing very well through the first 3 rounds. Lots of strategy and also puck luck. They even have a thing where they talk about the hockey gods. Looks like the hockey gods have been with Montreal. They won several overtime games this year. It's not so easy to win overtime games. You know what I'm saying? It could go either way. Once it goes to overtime, you could say maybe it's just luck, but it's also skill. But I believe that the major reason why they did so good this year, so good in overtime, so good in close games, it's all because of Carey Price. I'm not just saying it's because of Carey Price as in just the goalie. What I mean is that when the team is playing and they know in their mind and in their heart and in their soul that their goalie is very good and more than likely is going to stop the shot, is going to make the save, it gives them a certain confidence. And I think that confidence shines through, especially in overtime. And overtime, you have to take some chances still to win, even though you don't want to take too much chances, but you got to try to win. So they can play a certain game where, they defend and they're forechecking. They're not so worried about the odd guy taking a shot at their goalie. They feel the goalie is going to make the save. So I think it gives them an extra wing or extra wins beneath their feet. You know what I'm saying? Yes, indeed. But when they made it to the finals, they went up against one of the greatest teams, the Tampa Bay Lightning, with one of the greatest goalies, Vasilevsky. Some people say he is the greatest goalie. So who knows? Maybe this Stanley Cup Finals really came down to a competition of the goalies, or a battle of the great goalies. As you can see, both Montreal Canadiens and the Tampa Bay Lightning, they both have great goalies. Yes, indeed, Price for the Montreal Canadiens and Vasilevsky for the Tampa Bay Lightning. And as you can see, Vasilevsky won the award for most valuable player in the playoffs, the Conn Smythe Trophy. Yes, indeed, he won it for being the most outstanding, the best player in the whole playoffs. Kucherov could have won it too, because he scored so many goals. But they gave it to Vasilevsky because it's so important to have such a good goalie. It really helps, definitely. Because in Game 5, if Montreal would have scored earlier in the game, they could have won it. And it could have went on to another game. And then who knows what could have happened in Game 6 in Montreal or in Game 7. Who knows? Maybe Montreal would have came all the way back. So it was important that Vasilevsky shut them out in Game 5. Vasilevsky has a strategy of going into shutout mode whenever he's trying to win a series or a championship. Oftentimes in Stanley Cup, when you see a great team doing well, it usually has something to do with the goalie played very good. Yes, indeed. And next thing, which I think is a big factor in Stanley Cup, is power play. This is why I knew Toronto was going to have some problems. Toronto had one of their best seasons ever. It was one of the top teams in the league. Toronto was doing very good in the regular season. But they had a problem because they were having problems with the power play all year long. When the next team get penalty and they get the power play, a lot of time Toronto was not scoring. So just that power play problem let me feel inside myself say maybe they're not going to do so good in the playoffs, because usually the teams that do good in the playoffs do very good on the power play. Really, go into history and look into it. Most Stanley Cup championship teams, they're very good at the power play. Once the team with the power play get an advantage, the Stanley Cup type of team, they usually score, or they score often enough, to make it become a big factor. With the Toronto Maple Leafs, they weren't scoring on the power play. And the next thing that you got to look at in this year's playoffs, Montreal has the best penalty killing. They've been killing penalties right, left, and center. Even in the Stanley Cup Finals against the Tampa Bay Lightning, Montreal killed off a lot of penalties. Yes, indeed. Tampa Bay had to be very sharp to win Game 5 and to secure the championship. So that is usually an indication who is scoring on the power play and who is killing off the penalties. That's a big indication. If you're better at the special teams, you could turn out to be the champion. Plus, scoring on the power play shows that you got the killer instincts. And that is what Toronto was lacking. The killer instincts to really put the game away when you got the advantage. When you got the power play, take advantage of the power play and score a goal. They were just passing the puck around, passing the puck around, passing the puck around. Lots of fancy passing, but not scoring. So that was suspicious to me from the very beginning. So it didn't totally surprise me when Toronto got knocked out, because they had a bad problem with their power play all season long. The regular season is different from the Stanley Cup season or the playoff season. And it takes a certain type of toughness to really be in the championship, you know, and to win those best of 7. Imagine Toronto was leading Montreal 3-1. All they had to do was win one more game. But they couldn't pull it off, not just even one more game. So in sports they call that choking. Because they could have won. But it's not just choking, it's the fact that the Montreal Canadiens have certain skills, and certain good coaching, certain tradition as the greatest franchise in history of hockey. They started in 1909, so it's 111 years. Even though Tampa Bay defeated Montreal this year and Tampa Bay won their 3rd Stanley Cup, Montreal Canadiens has the record for the most Stanley Cup championships, 24 in total. And that is the record. And the next time they win, it will be 25. So I'm sure the Montreal people and the Quebec people are cheering for them. All of Canada is cheering for them because, you know, we love the Leafs. Each Canadian, we have our favorite teams. Every hockey fan have their favorite team. But at the end of the day, we love a good hockey game. Just like the great Wayne Gretzky said, no one is greater than the game. So no city is greater than the game. No superstar is greater than the game. No team is greater than the game. The game itself is the greatest of them all. You know, the game is the thing, right? So we all love the great Canadian hockey game, and the game has expanded from Canada to America and worldwide. But the best league in the whole game is the NHL, the National Hockey League. That league covers Canada and America. So people, you're listening to the Reggae Planet Spotlight inside the Cool Game podcast. Road to the Stanley Cup. This year, 2021, the Stanley Cup playoffs was very interesting. The finals came down to the Montreal Canadiens against the Tampa Bay Lightning. As you know, the Tampa Bay Lightning prevailed in 5 games and they won the series. They won their 3rd Stanley Cup championship, their 2nd Stanley Cup in a row. In game 1, the Montreal Canadiens lost 5-1. Can you imagine that? They lost 5-1. Tampa Bay Lightning scored 5 goals. Montreal only scored 1. In game 2, Montreal played a lot better. They played a really good game in game 2, out-shooting the Tampa Bay Lightning. But they still lost. They end up losing game 2, I believe, by a score of 3-1. In game 2, they played really good. But sometimes in hockey, as they say, they didn't have the puck bounce and the puck luck. In game 2, Tampa Bay Lightning won game 2. And then in game 3, Montreal was outplayed. It looked bad. It looked as if Montreal, you know, like how is this team in the finals? Because Tampa Bay won game 3, I think, by a score of 6-3. Tampa Bay was scoring goals. Montreal was making mistakes. It looked crazy, you know. There was a couple of turnovers. So the series was 3-0 for Tampa Bay. Everybody thought it was over. Everybody said, the Tampa Bay Lightning, they're just going to sweep those Canadiens. But in game 4, the Canadiens came back and played a great game, a spectacular game. They kept the score close and they won 3-2 in overtime. So they're very good at overtime, as I already said. Whenever Carey Price is playing very good, Montreal have a chance every night. He's as good as the best. In game 5, it was all about Carey Price and Vasilevsky. The battle of the goalies. You can talk about Tampa Bay having great talent. You can talk about skills. You can talk about the coaching strategies and the defensive strategies of the Montreal Canadiens. But it all came down to the great battle of the two goalies. Tampa Bay Lightning only scored one goal to win the championship in Game 5. One goal, that's all it took. Because their goalie was playing so good. Vasilevsky posted a shutout. He didn't even let in one goal. And that's how they won the championship. They played really tight. They played very defensively. To me, it looked like they were playing very good defensively. Much like the style of the Montreal Canadiens. And that's what makes Tampa Bay such a great team. Because they can play different styles of playing. They can play the offensive style, scoring lots of goals and all of that. But they can also play the lockdown defensive style, the shutdown style. And they got the best goalie to do it, Vasilevsky. And that's why they won the Stanley Cup. And that's why Vasilevsky won the MVP award for most valuable player in the playoffs this year. The Conn Smythe Trophy. Vasilevsky is the winner this year. Yes, indeed. It's all about the great cool game. The great Canadian hockey game. The coolest game in the world. I think sometimes people forget that the great legendary Montreal Canadiens, they are indeed historically and traditionally the greatest hockey team in the history of hockey. It doesn't matter which team they have right now. They have a way of going into the spirit of the tradition of the great Montreal Canadiens. That heritage, when they put on that sweater, there is a great heritage that comes to their feeling, the sense of being champions. And that is what I think is also propelling them. Good atmosphere, good energy. Very good team in the sense of they're a very resilient team. You can tell by how many times they win in overtime. They never give up. They never give up. They always try their very best. And that is something special. And because of that, win or lose, they already won the hearts of many fans all around the world in the game of hockey and in the world of sports, because of the fact that doesn't matter if the next team got more money, doesn't matter if the next team have more superstars. The Montreal Canadiens made this year's playoffs very exciting. They played with passion, they played with heart and soul, they played with grit, they played with toughness, they played with speed and self-confidence. Yes, indeed. They gave it their very best. So big congratulations going out to the Tampa Bay Lightning for winning their third Stanley Cup. But also, big congratulations going out to the Montreal Canadiens for making Canadians smile again, making hockey fans in Canada have a great vibe, and making it all entertaining, upsetting a lot of teams on their way to the Stanley Cup Finals. So let's see what will happen next year. Maybe Montreal will go back into the playoffs. Maybe they have to improve the team a little bit here, a little bit there, get a few more top scoring guys. But they got a good thing going on in Montreal. Big respect. People, you're listening to the Cool Game Podcast. Inside the Reggae Planet Radio Showcase. Reggae Planet Spotlight presents the Cool Game Podcast. It's all about the coolest game in the world, the great Canadian Ice Hockey Game, and the coolest music in the world, the great reggae music from Jamaica. Thank you for tuning in. Yes, indeed. Share it with your family and friends all around the world. Like, comment, share, and subscribe.